Getting closer to the end here, 25. So these could have multiple answers. So for which angle is it true that tangent theta is less than 0? That's saying tangent would be negative. That means that, remember, tangent is sine divided by cosine. So we'll have either positive over negative, considering our y coordinate and our x coordinate, or we'll have a negative over a positive. Both of these will give us a negative result. So which quadrants does that happen in? Well, it happens in the second quadrant, right? X's are negative, Y's are positive. So B is a possibility. The other place that happens is in quadrant 4, where X is positive, but Y is negative. So D is also a place where that would happen. Now we get considering two of these. For which angles is it true that tangent is greater than 0? Greater than 0, so that means tangent's going to be positive. And cosine is less than 0, so that means cosine is negative. If we're dealing with sine and cosine, I like to start with one of those because those are easier to spot out. Cosine is going to be negative in the second quadrant, so that's this one here. And the third quadrant, that's this one here. Now we're also considering which one of those would have a positive tangent. Well, we just talked in second quadrant, tangent's going to be negative because cosine's negative, sine is positive, so B doesn't work. But angle 3, tangent would be positive because cosine is negative and sine is negative. So for that one, we're going to go with angle C. See how that works? And then for question C, the C part, for which angles is it true that both sine is less than 0 and cosine less than 0? So this is saying sine is negative and cosine is negative. So we could start with either one. If sine's negative, that means we're in the third or the fourth. And then cosine being negative, well, that's going to be only the third. So which angle is in the third quadrant? That's angle C as well, right? Angle D does have a negative sine, but it's got a positive cosine, so that doesn't work. For which angle is it true that both tangent is greater than 0, positive, and sine is greater than 0, sine's positive? So again, we could just start with sine. Where is sine positive? Well, that's either in the first quadrant or the second quadrant, so A or B are both possibilities. Where is tangent going to be positive? It's positive in the first quadrant because cosine is positive, sine is positive, so we know A will work. B does not work because cosine would be negative, sine is positive, so tangent's going to be negative there. So that's the way to think through these, each one of them, reading this as, this function is either positive or negative, and then figuring out which quadrant it is in. Overall, I kind of do this thing. We've got plus and plus, right? X and Y. I'm doing this sort of set of coordinates. In the second quadrant, we have X is negative, Y is positive. Third quadrant, X is negative, Y is negative. And in the fourth quadrant, X is positive, but Y is negative.